How are you? Everything's fine.
Oh, good, good. You look very
Yeah,
smart. Very
thank you very
smart.
much. Yeah, glad to see you. Finally, after moments of waiting, now we are finally here on this live session with you. Before that, I have to say that I really enjoyed your YouTube page. Previously, I just checked your YouTube page, and I know that many students here also did the same thing. Your job is something really smart, and I think when you dedicate your life to educate the students, it is something that proves that you're a person with a good soul. Thank you very much for everything that you do from my side and on behalf of every students that we have here in the country, Iran. And it is really appreciated. Thank you even for joining us on this session, and I hope that we can do something good for the students.
It's an absolute pleasure, Amin, and thank you very much for inviting me. It is Sunday afternoon here, and as you can see, I'm in our glamorous office area. So this has the best Wi-Fi. So yeah, you'll have to excuse some of the admin bits behind me. But how's your day been so far?
It was fantastic actually. Today in Iran is not off, so we were going to the office, and I had a good day at office. I'm working as a management accountant, so today we had some presentation to the board of the directors, and it went really good. And to be honest, these are the final days to the examination. Basically, I have a financial management exam on Friday, so
All right.
I have around 5 days to go, and I'm really stressed because these final days are really stressful. So I think that you're aware of that because you're not an ACCA member, experienced so many of these examinations before.
Yeah. So financial management, how's the revision been going for you? Has it been okay?
Yeah, it has been okay. So I'm now actually working on technical articles on the ACCA website to have the final review, and then I'm going the revisions review. Basically, I did the revisions on BPP revision kit, so I'm just reviewing the notes that I've taken because now it's not a good time to do it from the first time. I'm just going to review my notes.
Yes.
And yeah, but these technical articles really are really helpful, and I think that they're more of use compared to the revision kit even as well for the final days to the examination. And James, you know, today is the last day that the students have because from tomorrow the December session is going to get started. We're going to have the audit and assurance on tomorrow, and many of these students here on this live may sit for their audit and assurance paper. Then we have the taxation. In Iran, people actually sit for taxation of the UK. On Wednesday, we're going to have the performance management. On actually Thursday, we're going to have financial reporting. And finally, on Friday, which is the last day of the examination here in Iran, students are going to sit for the financial management paper. So many of the students, I just made this introduction because I wanted to say that many of the students here in Iran are in a skills level. And to be honest, from December 2020, they experienced their very first session of CBE examinations, and they are actually a bit new because many of the students sitting for the first time in the CBE format. So they are a little bit confused on how to do it and what techniques they need to pay attention to, and what things they need to consider because, you know, they just ask me so many questions about the areas that how should I write down my answer that the examiner is not going to get challenged, and how I'm going to get marked. These are the areas that they had the most questions about.
Yeah.
And another question I myself has, because just as an intro, my question is also you know, the last moments before the examinations are really stressful. And you know, many students don't know what to do because you know, it's something natural. I think a day before the examination you think that you do not remember anything and it really gets you stressed, but when you go there everything is going to get handled. But what is your idea? How about your experience? What did you do a day before your examinations?
Oh, right. Well, lots of questions there, Amin, and thank you for all of them.
They have bombarded me with questions, yeah, but we can go one by one and point by point.
That's all right. Yeah, I mean, it's first of all, welcome everyone who's joining us today on this live session, and thank you very much for the invitation. Like I said, feel free to actually put in the chat at the bottom so Amin and I know which examination you actually have next week as well, and if you can actually hear us okay, that's the other thing. And yes, I mean, we've got got plenty of questions. I'm happy to answer as many as we like. We'll see how we are for time, and hopefully, you know, it could be the difference, Amin, of a student or two here today, maybe getting an extra mark or two, and going from there, really, I guess. So, I mean, you have to say, first of all, coming on to your first question about the night before the exam, it's, I mean, everyone on the call will be saying to me now, oh, James, sleepless nights before the last one. And that is probably true, because I've had it before where it's just got so much on your mind beforehand that you find it really hard to actually switch off. And again, let me know in the chat at the bottom if anyone's got audit assurance tomorrow or advanced audit assurance. But you've really got to, and first of all, is trying to get into your study work schedule, is to actually get in some exercise and to leave your studying area, or if you're studying at home, just to get out and get some fresh air, first of all, because I fell into the trap, and I know loads of students fall into the trap of just sitting at your desk all day, working all day as well. You might be working from home that day, and you won't get any fresh air, you won't do any exercise, or just go for a walk or anything on those lines, which again is one thing that will help you rest. Come the end of the day, you're going to get some natural sunlight on you. So that'll be the first thing I definitely do. The next thing is that making sure that you're looking after yourself. So everything from hydration, what you're eating the night before. Obviously, I wouldn't be drinking alcohol or anything on those lines. You know, maybe you could have a celebratory drink after the exam, maybe. Yeah. But actually, definitely, I would say on that. But then come the evening, I mean, trying to overload on information an hour or two before you go to bed is not particularly helpful. I used to have my own written notes in bullet points that I would just casually read before finishing up for the day. But I would also make sure to try and put my mind at rest that everything is all sorted for the next day. So if I'm doing computer-based examination, whether that be at home or at an actual centre, or if I've got to travel somewhere to the exam hall, I know exactly how my day will go from getting me from my house to that exam hall. So I'd have enough water, enough food, all my notes together, bag packed, the whole lot. So that I thought, you know, I'm as ready can be on there. I mean, how are you going to prepare, Amin, for your Friday examination?
Just, you know, if I want to complete you, what I can mention here is that sitting for an ACCA examination is just like doing some exercise itself, because, you know, 3 hours and 15 minutes, you need to sit behind a computer, beside a computer, and it's really hard if you don't do exercises. So I believe that what you say is absolutely right. I myself also do exercises for 3 days a week. And I see the importance of this, because previously I had so many backaches and etc. When I wanted to sit for the examination, I was just going to face with so many problems within the examination. My body had no power to continue after 2 hours and 2 hours and 30 minutes maybe. And the last question was a bit difficult for me to answer because of the fitness problems that I had. But after I did the exercises, I believe that it really helped me in the previous exam sit that I had for financial reporting. I was a bit more, aware of what is going around the exam questions, and I was a bit more ready to sit for the examination. So I just wanted to complete you. But for myself, I usually do not study a day before the examination. Honestly speaking, most of the times I try to be out with my friends or with my partner, or even I spend my time watching movie. Previously, before the COVID-19 pandemic, I was going to the cinema, but now at the moment, because cinema is very closed for this pandemic and the rest of the things due to COVID-19. Yeah, I was spending my day actually playing video games a day before the examination.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, my word. Well, I'm going to have to say, I mean, I did not do that before the day before my examination, I'll be honest.
Yeah, but it's fantastic. I'd really suggest
I'd maybe go for a movie the day after. That's in terms of the day before, I'm just trying to go through my consolidated, nice and short and sweet notes, and just trying to digest and walk and talk myself through. if a certain question came up on my examination, so for example, on financial management, it could be anything about IRR or NPV or something about maybe capital structure. And I would say to myself, right, what are the key words that I'd be referring to? What diagrams could I include? What's the key knowledge? But I definitely, the day before, I would not be doing a past paper to time. I'd want to go into the exam completely fresh the next day. But I'd also want to make sure I gave it my all. That's the other thing where, you know, you've only got a certain amount of time before the exam, and lots of students work full time and study full time as well, which, you know, can be early starts, late finishes. So it's getting the balance right, and then best preparing yourself as much as possible could be the big difference in just getting those final few marks. I mean, the only final point on that is the final day. I mean, we're now in the UK, as I'm talking now, it's 4 o'clock, okay? So if there are any students who are in the UK or UK time-wise, and you've got the exam tomorrow for audit and assurance, or any exam, whatever it may be, is that at this time, I honestly would be just saying to myself, right, I'm probably really tired at this point. I've been revising for the last week or two. I'm fed up with it. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to have a punt, a guess, an estimate on what I think is going to be on that exam tomorrow, and focus for an hour or two, last push before I go to bed, before I switch off, and before I sort out everything in my preparation for the next day, or if you've got family commitments. So yes, anyone here, trust me, just go have a punt on it. Trust your gut instinct, and if it comes up, hey, that could be another few marks for you that you could have won at this point now.
Yeah, and so the most important thing that you just mentioned is that it's really important for the ACCA students to take notes when they are studying. That is what I always also emphasize on that, because, you know, if they take notes, revision phase, they have a day before the exam, 2 days before the examination, they can go through their notes. So I think when they are studying, it is really important. It is absolutely important for them to take notes. So this may be a first tip that we can mention here.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. It's you've got to remember. I mean, it's a case of like with your BPP books for financial management. This is what they look like, and then what you need to have is on this side is, okay, I've got all the notes from what they've said, but they're in Amin's, you know, how Amin would describe it in English, or how James would describe it in English if you had to tell it to someone else. That's the key thing in how you and I would understand it to ourselves, and how we would explain it to someone who's not an accountant maybe, or who isn't really interested in financial management. But something on those lines. Yes, it is quicker just to sort of read through. But when you come back to look at this, it would just be a blank page. You have to go through it again. You're not highlighting key terms, key phrases, anything that stands out to you to come back to. So definitely, yeah, I agree with you on that tip.
And another thing which I think is more importantly, I mean, a week before the exam day, I think is go through the mock examinations, basically, because it can provide you with the areas that you just have some difficulties. You can go through and review them. What is your idea about the mock examinations? When is the best time to do the mock examinations? A week before the exam or days before the exam? What is your idea about this?
Wow. First of all, to have on record, the main thing is key aspect is to do as many as you can as possible, because I'm sure, like yourself, I get lots of questions saying, James, is 1 enough? Is 2 enough? And I'm saying that just get as many done as possible. Now, in terms of time frames, I'd be doing these at least 2 to 3 weeks beforehand, because they take a lot of time to do. You should be doing them to time as well, as if they were in an exam situation. And you also need to allocate time to go and review your answers compared to the actual ACCA answers that they've given to you. And you're saying, right, okay, I need to make some notes down on here, because this is what I got, this is what ACCA got. What bits would I have actually given myself some marks for on there?
Yeah, can I add a point here?
Of course you can.
Despite the fact that BPP and Kaplan are approved learning, providers of ACCA, However, when we come to the answer key of the questions, especially for the questions that have come in the examinations, we see that there is a slight difference between what ACCA examiner actually looks into compared to what BPP or even Kaplan do. So I think that if students go through the past papers for doing their mock examinations, would be a better idea. However, I know that we don't have multiple choice questions in the past papers available on accglobal.com. However, I think for the narrative questions, it would be a better idea to go through the website, download the past papers, and then, do the question, answer the questions. Is it right, or am I wrong? Because
definitely right. Definitely right on that. I would, if I was having to sit an exam, I mean, obviously we're talking about December when we're recording this, the exams are next week, but say for future in March or June or December next year, you've got to download all of the past papers available to you on the website. That is the first thing. The second thing is then to go through as many Kaplan or BPP books, questions that you've got on there. And then thirdly is logging into the computer-based examination format on ACCA's website and trying some of their practice papers on there as well, so you get used to the format, because you don't want to be wasting time in the examination not knowing how to work the system. So it's there for your advantage to get good at it, so that you're spending less time on the actual system and more time on actually getting your answers down on there, because you and I both know how difficult it is to get 50 and above.
Yeah. Sometimes when students get right, for example, a score between 50 to 60, they believe that, oh, I did not do my best. But I believe that even if someone gets, or achieves 52, 53s, also have done a great job, because it's really difficult to pass the ACCA examinations to be, in a way that you can pass the examination one by one. So another thing that you just mentioned was ACCA practice platform, I think, because basically they need to log in on that so that they can enjoy doing the questions there on the platform. So why did you suggest using that? Why students can't go, for example, through using the Excel file and word processing? Is it due to the limitations that we have in those spreadsheets provided by the practice platform, or because the environment of the examination is just the same with those we have in practice platform?
Well, it's a really good question on there. It's a case of you're going to have to play by the rules of the game on there, and the rules of the game are that you have to use this practice platform. So you've got a picture that there are going to be tens and hundreds of thousands of students sitting on these practice platforms, and some are going to be good at it and some are going to be bad at it because they've not tried it. If they've had a go on Word and Excel, which are fantastic resources to use at work, but they're not the practice platform that we're going to have to use in the examination. So you've got to get used to that format, how you code it, where to find the calculator, the actual scratchpad on there, flagging up questions, reading the question properly as well. All these things factor into you getting the 50 plus what you're looking for. I've got nothing against if people want to try on Word or Excel, but if I was in their shoes, I'd be definitely doing the CBE ones to time on the practice platform, and then being honest with myself when I review the answers and say, well, what did I actually do well here? Do I think that I spent too much time trying to format it? Did I struggle with maybe some of the formulas in financial management that you'll have to do? Or can I improve in other areas, such as maybe my layout? So that there are a variety of different things. But you have to realise, Amin, there'll be some people who are doing a computer-based examination that have never used the format before. They're just going to turn up and then assume it's going to be the same as Word and Excel, which it isn't on there. They have to follow the formats provided online through the actual systems in place, and you have the opportunity to try that system. So in my eyes, if you try it, it's to your advantage to try it. That's fine.
Exactly. And I have a story about this, which I can share with the students, and even in future,
Fantastic.
if you want to upload it on your YouTube as well. Basically, one of my friends was not aware of the exam format, the CBE style, And what he did was simply he just copied, he just cut the answer of one question, and he thought that he can paste it in the second question, and he lost a significant mark about it because of this. So I just told him that if you had tried it before, then on the exam day you wouldn't have faced with the same problem. So that's really important. And James, what I can hear, mention in addition to what he said is that basically students, when they sit for the mock examinations, they have to do something like they need to prepare the environment just the same with the exam venue or exam hall for themselves. They need to pay attention to the timing. Sometimes students start doing the examinations, they forget and they say, oh, it's not the final exam, I need to practice. But I think sticking into the time is one of the key points here while doing the mock examinations, because it can get you more prepared and it can be more supportive if you just do it. Do you have any experience in this, or any students, for example, story about this, how this could be helpful for them?
Yeah, I mean, you're spot on again, Amin, really, on there. That look, you've got to prepare yourself as best you can, okay? And one of the reasons why people fail the exams is because they run out of time and they don't answer the whole 100 marks. So if you have poor time management and you maybe miss out some areas on section A or section C, depending on which exam you're doing, then it's a case of you're trying to get 50 to pass from 90 marks or 85, versus if you've attempted 100, well, heck, you've got a much better chance on that. The main reason why students don't do questions to time is because it makes them feel uncomfortable. That's why, because they don't want to do it. Whereas I know from my years of experience, and you'll know from passing exams, that it's those sessions where you sit down, you do the question to time, and then you review your answer later on with a fresh, clear mind, that you get the most benefit out of it. And then you don't make as many mistakes in the real exam. But it comes down to choices. It's, hard choices, doing past papers, you'll have an easier exam. Easy choices in your revision, just flicking through notes and just sort of saying, I've done a few hours of revision, when you've not really sort of digested too much, then I'm afraid it's probably going to be a hard exam for you. So that's what I would say. The more, the better that you do.
Yeah, exactly. And, from my point of view, we all may have experienced this, that sometimes it happens that we don't understand something, but when we go through, for example, thinking about it for some minutes, and after, like, for example, an hour of thinking, when we go through the exam answer key to the examination, when we read that, we definitely understand it better. Even if we just do it a bit fast, we may not understand everything clearly. But when we think about it, when we just spend time on it, like, for example, 30 minutes, 20 minutes, involving ourselves with the exam question, and when we go through the exam, answer key, we understand it way better compared to the time that we just go through it, do it really fast.
Yes, I know. I know. And wouldn't it be delightful if they just gave us the answers and we could just have a little read through, and then it'd be all rosy nosy, wouldn't it? But you have to, and again, it comes back to just different exams have different styles of how you have to go about them. Hence why I've had to do how to pass videos on all of them, because I kept on getting the same questions all the time. So I thought, you know what, I'll just write it down in my notes, I'll record it, I'll put it on there. And for anyone who's watching live now or watching the recording of this, just go check them out. They're all on there. It breaks it down nicely for you. It tells you what to do. And watching a 20-minute video could save you days in revision and marks in the exam. So that's the sort of philosophy and ethos behind it, just to say, it helped me, so I hope it's going to help you. In fact, I know it's going to help you. That's the thing. But have you watched any of the financial management videos?
Actually not. I didn't find time to do that. Yeah, but today I just
you've got time. You've got time to go to the cinema.
Yeah,
time to
I
go to
need
the
to do this.
cinema, and he's not watched
Yeah.
everyone my How to Pass
Yeah.
Financial Management video.
Actually, I get stressed the day before the exam, so I just finalize
Okay.
everything 2 days before the examination day. And for me, it works a bit better. I think it differs between the people with different characteristics.
I mean,
However,
don't worry, I'm teasing you. It's okay.
yeah,
Carry
I
on.
understand. Yeah, just something it just came up to my mind, and this is a question that so many students have asked us. The question is around this. We have to deliver a strategy to the exam session. I mean, from a day before the exam, I need to know where to start the examination. Shall I do it from the first, or shall I go, for example, toward the constructive response questions?
Mhm.
This is a question that normally people ask. Shall we do the questions in an orderly basis, or no? For example, we need to allocate time to do the constructive response questions at first, and then we come back to do the multiple choice questions. What is your idea? Because I think, just to make it more complete, for example, in performance management paper, one of the questions around the BSc, for example, it
Mhm.
takes, it's a lengthy question and it
Oh,
takes
no.
around 30, 40 minutes to do. I remember when I started the question, at that time it was paper-based examination. I just found out that my pen is not working anyway because I was writing as much as I could. So they ask, what should we do? Shall we start from the first multiple choice question, then go through the constructive response, or vice versa? What
Well,
is
I
your
get
idea?
no, very good question, and it's a very
Thank you.
timely question as I'm currently helping a couple of performance management students who just need a bit of support going into their examination, and they both have the same sort of area as to Section C in performance management is very time pressured. You have a lot of information to digest in a short period of time, and you have the expectation of writing scenario specific answers that relate back to the requirement on there. If anyone wants to write that down, that's quite important for performance management. So I've actually recommended to both of them to do Section C first so that they can get it done to time. And if they have to try and pinch some time later on out of the other two sections they're more comfortable with, then they will do that, and they'll back themselves to do Section A and Section B a bit quicker. The problem that they had was that they would do Section A to time, they would do Section B to time, and then they'd go through Section C with the same allocated time. But the key thing to remember here is you would be over an hour into your exam doing that. You'd be a bit tired, you'd be a bit lethargic, and then trying to actually implement the usual strategy that you'd have gets a lot more difficult. So they weren't answering, like we talked about earlier, the full marks in Section C and failing with 42s, 44s. And you think, oh my God, you're so close. If you'd have answered the full Section C, I'm pretty confident you would have passed on there. So I'm rooting for them going into this examination that they've done, and I've told them to do as many past papers to time, which they have done, so they know the standard that they're at, and they know the standard they need to get to on there. So I'll be sure to do some more PM videos for everyone. So yes, you've got more to look forward
Yeah,
to.
exactly. Actually, I watched those videos for PM, but I forgot to watch them for FM. I don't know why, because I have passed the PM, but I went through the PM videos instead of FM ones.
What can I
So,
say? What
yeah,
can I say? If you watch the videos and you pass PM because you watch it,
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that's a very
yes.
good. Yeah, we'll have to
Yeah, the
get that.
techniques that you're sharing with the students are quite helpful. I think that if anyone here wants to sit for the next paper for performance management, they can watch James' videos on his YouTube. I think that it's simply easy. It's easy for them to find you on YouTube. They just need to type down your name, James Wright, and everything is going to come up on
Yeah,
YouTube, so they can follow and subscribe your page. James, another question that comes to my mind as a student and also representative of them to ask this question from you,
yeah.
is that they simply ask, I guide them like this. They say, for example, I face with 10 questions in a row which are difficult ones. So I lose my concentration. I believe that the exam is so much difficult that I cannot answer even a question. So I always advise them to put these questions away, go after finding the questions that are easy to answer. Then they come back and then they allocate their time to do the rest of the questions, because it is something tricky. I think sometimes happens that in ACCA examinations, we see so many questions, one after another, which are difficult to answer. But when you go, for example, to question number 11, you see, oh, this is really easy. I can really answer it very well. What is your, do you have the same idea with me that they need to go, for example, after the easiest marks at first, and then they need to come back and return to the other questions?
Yeah. So you mentioned a couple of good points in there, Amin, as to, well, there are always going to be more difficult questions on any examination that you do on ACCA. And the first thing I'd say is that I wouldn't expect every student to know everything on the exam. There are so many small details in every single ACCA exam that you look at it and go, oh my word, that was one sentence on one page of one chapter that was really specific knowledge. So you just go, look, that was a very difficult mark, but I know there's another 99 out there that I can definitely get. Now, you also mentioned and touched on just a second ago about actually believing in yourself. You've got to believe that going into any examination that you're going to pass it. If you're going in with a negative mindset beforehand, and you know, coming onto your financial management exam on Friday, if you go into it and say, oh, I'm going to fail this, I'm going to fail, oh, I don't know, I'm going to fail it, I'm going to fail it. You're already going into it with your mind sort of shrinking in on yourself to say, well, you failed already. You already told yourself you failed. So having a positive mindset and actually saying to yourself, I've put in as much possible revision, syllabus analysis, question practice, the whole lot going into it, that you should be able to look yourself in the mirror and say, I can give this a really good go, and I've got a very good chance, I believe, of passing. And whatever they throw at me, I'm going to give it my all. I'm going to read the question properly. I'm going to answer what they want me to answer, and going from there. Now, coming on to if you got some difficult questions. Now, you touched on, imagine if you got 10 difficult questions in a row. Now, if you've got a student who gets 10 difficult questions in a row, that probably tells me, Amin, I'll be honest with you, that they haven't read enough of the syllabus or the core text, because you shouldn't, if you want to pass one of the ACCA exams, you can't pass it, I would say, by not knowing one question out of 10 on there, because you should get at least 1 out of 10. I mean, in most of the applied skills examinations and all the foundation papers, whatever you want to call it, they'll have 20 to 25 questions in section A, where, look, if you don't know 1 or 2 of them, just flag it up and come back at the end. That's what I would say. Just keep the momentum going, that you think to yourself, right, yeah, I think I've done well on that. Because the other thing is that the majority of the time, you're not going to have time to come back and review these. So you've got to have confidence when you're going through it the first time. That's my answer. Put it to the back. That's it. No focus on that now. Right, next question. Focus in. What are the key terms? What are the answers that can't possibly be right? And going from there, I would say. So I've given you a lot of food for thought there, and so I hope that helps ahead of your Friday exam.
And I think, what ACCA has done has made it a bit easier for its students to do these techniques, because, in previous examination sessions, while it was like PB examinations, students could not, for example, flag the questions, could not find which questions they have not answered, and it just took so much time from them. Now, toward using this concept of CBE and toward using this navigator, which you can flag the questions, you can find which question you have just challenged yourself with and you couldn't reach to any answer for that. Then you can return back to the question. So in my opinion, and it would be a great pleasure if you just share your opinion as well.
Of course.
In Iran, people argue a bit that changing and converting the examination from the PBS style to CBS style has just made it a bit more difficult for us to ace the examination. But in my opinion, if they just practice on those practice platforms that you just shared before, they can do better because the techniques are more applicable using the tools
Mhm.
that ACC has provided to the students. You agree with me? I think you think also CBE examinations are easier for students to do, or you
Well,
have another idea?
it's how you phrase it and what your sort of paradigm is on it and how you look at these sort of concepts. That I think to myself, with the computer-based examinations, you can say in some of the areas of section C, you can type up and you can copy and paste over some of the requirements on the online ones now, which when I used to do the pen and paper ones, I used to write for the whole 3.25 hours, and I still had more information that I could have got down. So if one of your skill sets from work or your own personal skill sets that maybe you're very good with computers, that you could type really quickly, you're going to be at an advantage. Obviously, they've got different setups with the questions now, with the MCQs and the multiple choice, versus when I did it, it was a case of we had 5-mark questions where you had to write out your answer, and 10s, 7s, 8s, and hey, that might be a benefit to some person, but it could be a disadvantage to another. You got to pose the question, Amin, and let me know if you agree on this. That if you said, right, we're going to keep it exactly the same, okay, and maybe we're not even going to do it online to give you the chance. We're just going to not have any exams. Well, I mean, what would ACCA students think to that? They'd go, oh, I can't sit an exam in 6 to 9 months. I think they've done their best, given the circumstances, to try and make it as implemented as effectively as possible, and obviously to maintain the correct standards. Because if you look at, say, audit, for example, that's tomorrow. When I did audit, the pass rate was about 35%, 33%. Going into the exam tomorrow, the pass rate's about 33%, 35%. So the same,
Exactly.
give or take, students still pass the exam. It's not, in my eyes, it's got easier for the type of student, but the standard still remains the same.
Exactly. And I've just received a really good question. I think it's really difficult to answer this question because I think it depends on the people mindsets, how they find themselves more convenient. The question is that I can use a piece of paper to write down some of my answers and then, for example, click on the right answer on the exam. Also, I have the scratchpad available on the platform. What is your suggestion? Shall I do it on the scratchpad provided by the platform itself, or is it okay, for example, to do it on a piece of paper?
It all depends, first of all, what you are comfortable with. That's the first
Mhm.
thing, and I would try and actually use the same system that you'd be actually using in your revision when you're actually going through those past papers yourself. Now, with the actual scrap paper, and this really depends on the actual format that you're actually doing it in, because if you go and do it in an exam hall with pen and paper, like the old days, like you and I had to do, then obviously you've got paper there, okay, but you have to still write
Exactly.
it down and everything like that. Now, a computer-based examination, it depends on different factors as to, are you doing it at home? Okay, so this is where you're on your own personal computer and you've got your own keyboard, or are you going to be doing a CBE at an actual centre where you have to go into it and you've got an examiner there? Now, ACCA put out statements for different countries on there. So the main thing I would say is make sure you check from your particular country and your particular exam style format that you're going for on there, because the last thing you want to do is to be sat there, because it's all about the invigilation. So if you're doing the examination from home, the invigilator is on a camera on the other side where they can't check, because you could have notes and everything on those lines. You have to show your full area for it. Versus if you go into a centre, they've got people walking around. They look over your shoulder, and it is a proper examination where if there is any hint that you are cheating on any paper, the repercussions are massive on that. It's just not worth it at all. Just don't even
Yeah.
contemplate it. So
Exactly.
yes, check for your country and then check where you're going to be doing the examination is the key thing on there. And if in doubt, ask the invigilator on the day. Just ask. That's the main thing, because then you're going to get the answer before you press go on the exam, because you just haven't got time to waste in the exam, and you don't want to be accused of anything on top of that. So I hope that confirms your difficult question, Amin, on there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a bit. You know, some of these questions are dependent to the type of students that we're gonna have, and also to the circumstances that the students are going to experience. It is not just like a unique reply or answer to the question. It depends, really depends. Like many other things in accounting, that it depends, because I think what we accountants learn is that whenever they ask us a question, we should think about it, and we should say at least to ourselves that it depends. Not firmly yes, not firmly no. It
Well,
depends. Yeah,
well,
exactly.
I mean, for anyone who's got the audit and assurance examination there, you've
Yeah,
just demonstrated due diligence, where you have
yeah,
to question and reaffirm as
exactly.
to what the situation is, what is actually going on, what are my responsibilities, what I'm being asked for, and these are the questions you have to ask yourself, and then try to work out what the answer or the outcome that you're trying to get to. So yes, very good question. Have you
Exactly.
got any other questions you want to go through, or should we answer any
Uh,
ones that anyone's got to ask us
I
today?
think that we can ask the students to type down their questions on the question box, or also we can check the chat. I'm going to check it. Just as
Yeah.
a quick wrap up on what we have discussed recently, what I understood from our discussion is that students should pay attention to their preparation phase. Whatever they have done there, they shouldn't do something new in the exam session. They should exactly do the same thing. Another thing that I just learned from you is that when we sit for the examination, we need to allocate sufficient time to each question. It means that if one question was difficult, we shouldn't waste our time. We should go through the next question. And then it would be the nicest strategy for us doing this. Another thing I just learned from today is that it's really important for the students during their study phase to take notes, because these are the notes that can be helpful for them days or nights before the examination. Another thing I just learned and you just shared with us is about the mock examinations. Do as many as examinations they can before the exam day, so that it can become helpful for them. I think it's a quick wrap up on what we have discussed. If I missed something, you can add it.
I think you're absolutely spot on, and I'm just having a look in the chat at the
Yeah,
bottom
I'm also
about
searching.
we've had about do not count it as booked. Could you please also mention about some of the resources? Well, first of all, you've got to go over to ACCA's website, put in your examination, and the free resources on there are everything from the technical articles, the past papers, and they have some really good actual notes on there as well with the PDFs that I do some of the videos based on that I think are helpful as well. So yeah, just make the most of them. I know time is precious now, so make use of some of the videos that maybe you're a bit tired now, you don't want to write or read anything. You can just click play and I'll tell you about it. So
Yeah, exactly.
that's all good.
That's why videos are really helpful for the students. And I think our friends here in Iran also can enjoy using your videos. The day I just shared your poster with me, so many people directed me on Instagram and told me that, wow, this man is amazing. He has done an amazing job on YouTube.
I'm
So
not sure about amazing on
congratulations on
that.
your, yeah. Yeah, actually, it is really amazing because you share everything in detail, and because the way that you speak, you don't speak really fast. I think you speak fluently with, I mean, some pause and another time you start, and students can think themselves. You just ask some questions from them on your videos, so they first think about it and then they find the answer on your videos. That
All
are the
right.
things I think it's really good. So I just wanted to share this positive feedback with you. And I think the good energies that students are now sharing with you, you can see it on your chat box. So I think it's really good.
Well, that's very sweet of them, isn't it, Abby? I mean, if they've got any particular questions they'd like to ask us, feel free to put it in the chat at the bottom, or
Exactly.
if you're watching the recording of this, put it in the comments, and one
Exactly.
of us will definitely be able to help you out and have a look through. I mean, if you've got the exam tomorrow, just consolidating everything you've got now. I mean, it's having a punt on what you think is going to come up. But if anyone wants any particular advice, I mean, I'm happy to. It's just I try to answer as many questions as I have, and questions that I get and comments as well. So yes, thank you for. So do not count it as put. Thank you for everything on there. So I'm glad that helps as well.
Yeah.
That's all good. That's.
And I think the last thing we can share with them a day before the examination is to, I think it's something simple, but many students forget it due to the stress and the rest of the things, that they do not sleep very well a day before the examination. I think it's really important for them to finalize everything and at least sleep around 7-8 hours before the examination, because the time that exam takes, I think it's really important to be fresh and to be, I mean, in a good shape for sitting the examination. I think students should finalize everything. You should have a good sleep. And in Iran, actually, exam is in the morning, so we suggest them to have good breakfast as well, because it's around 3 hours that you need to sit. It's not something like a joke. You need to sit in front of a computer. You need to answer the question, and it's just really important.
Oh yeah.
So James, I think students' questions are mostly answered here because they are not asking about the technical, I mean, aspects of each paper, which I think you have shared them all on your YouTube, so they can simply go through those videos, or actually they can comment their questions, because I think it is we don't have that much time available to answer this question in detail. But for me, last question that I have in my mind is that whatever we just discussed was for passing the ACCA examination. However, it is something natural that some students, maybe because they lack enough study time, they may fail the examination, and it's really bad. On the day that they receive their result, they have just failed, and they say that, oh, I'm not made for doing this. I think they should not become disappointed, and I believe that failing the examination is somehow a key to success in these examinations. What is your suggestion to these students if they, for example, have not studied enough, they are scared of failing, and probably they're gonna fail it even. I hope that everybody passes, but unfortunately some students may fail. What is your suggestion to those students?
Yeah, I mean that's a very fair question on there, Amin. So it's a case of, with the pass rates, especially for some of the exams going as low as 29%, that means a lot of students do fail the exam. Now, I failed my advanced taxation paper once and then passed the second time, and I failed my advanced audit assurance. Sorry for anyone who's doing it tomorrow. Just to give you a bit of motivation.
They're really difficult.
But that's why I did the how to pass the advanced audit assurance was one of the first videos I ever did, because I used to get loads of questions on it, and I just went, oh wow, I'll just tell you what I did differently on there. So I mean, first of all, it's a case of you've got to consolidate what you previously did on there. So if you got between 40 to 49, you obviously know some of the good knowledge from whichever exam that you've done. You've been through the syllabus, you've got reasonable exam technique on there, but you need to take it up to that next notch and then work out, was there any specific areas of the syllabus that you went, oh my word, that was particularly bad, and then reflecting on the exam to say, that question 2 didn't go well at all, or question 3 I was a bit not really sure on. Whereas if you're getting if you get under 30, you really need to have a look back at the core text on there. Hey, maybe you might have got a bad exam where it was really, really tough on there, and it was just there was a large question that you were really, really stuck on. But under 30, you really need to be having a look at the core text and understanding the elements a lot more. And 30 to 40 in the middle of all of that, again, you've demonstrated some good knowledge, but it's probably lacking past paper practice and reading some of the external resources on there. So that's the first thing. Consolidate all those notes, because you've got to get motivated to go again. That's the key thing, which quite a lot of people fall short on. So the next thing is that I always recommend is you actually write down on a piece of paper in your room or in your house, or if your wife, girlfriend, husband, or boyfriend is in there, and when they come in, or family members who come round, or friends or whatever, they'll come round and say, James, why is there a number 41 on your fridge? And then you'll have to explain it to them as well. And you're like, oh no, I don't want to explain to them that I failed my exam with 41 and I needed 50, and that sounds like a long way off, but it's a form of accountability, should we say, on there. So it won't be on ACCA's website, but it's a very good technique that holds you accountable, because in all seriousness, I mean, it's a case of, you'll know from working, and from my days, it's a case of you have a long day at the office, you'll come home, and what you want to do is just sit on your bed or sit on your sofa, play on your phone, or you know, you might like video games or watching films or whatever like that, and you get comfy. Whereas what the number does is, you see it and you go, I know I'm tired, I know I'm lethargic, I know I don't want to do it, but I'm gonna work out a strategy where I'm gonna try and, you know, just eke out as much as I possibly can, and that's another good way of going about it. And then finally, you've just got to believe that you can do it. That's the other key critical thing that I always say. Imagine, well, try and bottle up that theory, that feeling of when you actually got that result, that text that came through, that email that came through, and just think of that feeling when you read 41, 37, 21, whatever it was, and you just go, oh my word, that was, oof, that one hit hard. I didn't like that. But then you've got to say, well, what would it be like if it was 51 or 50?
At least it reminds you that what you had done previously was not the right thing, so you need to make a change, and it reminds you that you still need to change something. Remember, previous time you didn't do this time you have to change it, you can do it. And this is really energetic, I think, and it can be supportive tool for the students. So really creative.
I hope any of the small, you know, the small points of, you know, a bit of time out of my evening, it could just make the small difference going into next week. That a little thing here and there, just giving back and trying your best, and students reaching out, and it just could be that little thing that could push you into that 50-51 and just get you into that next bracket, and just putting in the extra hours on it. That extra hour tonight or midweek could be the little difference in getting you just over the line, which is the key critical factor for me.
Exactly. And James, do you suggest the students to sit for 2 exams at the same time, like, for example, or it's not suggested? What is your idea? Is it good, for example, to sit for 2 exams, 3 exams? Because they can sit for 4 exams at the same time, but it's unbelievable.
So the key thing that you need to ask yourself is, how much available time do you have? Now, I know I've just seen who's joined the chat as well. One of our good mates, Jack, has joined, where he knows his stuff. And we talk about available time, where you've got to get your priorities right, in line, to say, look, we all have the same 24 hours in the day, and we all have different commitments as to family life and studies or working full time, the whole lot of it. So you have to have an honest conversation with yourself and say, right, what available time do I have? And then sometimes as well, a really good quote to remember, Amin, is always, it's not how many hours you put in, but it's what you put into those hours is the key critical thing there. Okay. Because lots of people just revise, read, but they're not digesting that information on there. That's one of the major things. So if you're going to do 2 exams, you've got to work out and have a plan going into the future as to how many hours of tuition would that be? What days would that be? Would it be evening tuition, or am I self-studying? And then how am I going to balance that around my other commitments? So having a plan for it. But personally for me, whilst we're being recorded and we're on record, I would not recommend that you do 2 professional exams or 2 option papers at the same time. SBR, SBL, and 2 out of your 4 option papers. Trust me on this, just take one at a time. They are very, very difficult on there. So Yes, I mean every time.
Especially the SVL one, because it's actually two papers in the same one, because
Yeah.
previously it was P1 and P3, so it really
Yeah, indeed,
time-consuming.
indeed. But no, I've thoroughly enjoyed today, and it's been great to see so many students have joined us. And I hope some of the tips and things we've talked about today have definitely helped. So thank you for everyone who's joined
Thank you
us.
very much. Yeah, thank you very much. I think whatever you shared can be helpful for the students, and it should be me that thank you for the time that you just spent. I know that you had your free time today, and I just took your time, but I believe that it is really appreciated from the student side and also from my side. Thank you very much for allocating your time, for accepting our invitation. And I hope that students, all of them who are in this live session, or even maybe later they are watching our video on Instagram or YouTube, they all have passed their papers. But believe me or not, do not do what I did and enjoy watching the James videos, because you can definitely pass them to our using actually the guidelines he's going to share with you. Do you have any last word with the students?
Well, I mean, like I said, I mean, thank you so much for organising today. You're an absolute superstar, and
my pleasure. It's
for anyone who's watching the recording, you know, make sure you leave in the comments below how you got on with your exam, and it's so nice to see so many lovely comments coming through. So just make sure you do your best for next week. Let us know how you get on, and I'm sure Amin will send me the recording for this. I'll put it online, and it'd be really good to keep a record. So let us know in the comments, and yeah, be sure to share Amin's resources as well as mine, just to help people out. I mean, that's what they're there for. So if it can make the difference in yours or your friends' exams, even better. Super duper. But yes, thank you very much again, Amin, and
thank you very much.
Thank you everyone else who's joined in today. So make sure you save the recording, Amin, and
sure, I'm saving it. Yeah.
We'll make sure we put it out there for everyone, just in case people didn't make it today as well.
Absolutely, I'm going to do that.
It's been a pleasure to meet you. Thank you so much, and I hope we get to meet one day face to face at an ACCA event.
I hope so.
when you're a qualified member yourself.
Sure, thank you very much. It's really appreciated, and it was a great pleasure for me speaking to you as well. Thank you very much, James.
Absolutely. Have a good start. Lovely. Thanks very much, everyone. Have a nice day and good luck. All right. Bye bye.
Bye bye.